freaking first cut. Golly.
What's going on, YouTube? 18 holes in the books at the BMW Championship, and we've got a common leader. We'll talk about that, and a date has been set in the Live trial. Much more to come there. Hit the like button. Make sure you're subscribed. We'll jump into it right now. Welcome to the First Cut Podcast. I'm Rick Gehman. That right there, Kyle Porter, KP. Hey, bud.
You look like you're in a did you get put in like a prison for your live takes?
That's good. Yeah, this is the classic hotel background. Find the corner that's like not the worst, and this is what we're dealing with here.
It looks like a magic eye optical illusion. What are you doing, and what are you traveling for?
Well, we're going to the BMW Championship tomorrow, and
okay.
So, but it's more of a personal trip. So we're in Philly now. We did the touristy stuff. We did the Liberty Bell. We did Independence Hall. We went to the Mint, Kyle. Watched some press some coins out. We did it all today.
I know a few places that are printing money these days. So that's not too. How long does it take to get to Delaware from there?
It's like 22 miles, but it'll probably take, I don't know, 35 minutes tomorrow morning, something like that.
It's only 20. Just by train or what?
Oh, by car. Philadelphia to Wilmington is like very close.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So you're not taking like Ricky's PJ or anything?
No. I did. He offered, but I said, listen, I don't want to be called, a climate. What they call Taylor Swift a climate criminal. I don't want to be a part of that. So.
Oh, do people call her that?
Well, I mean, she flies that private jet all over the place. It's it's a thing. Okay.
Does Taylor Swift own her own private jet?
I think that's kind of the dilemma. So I think that she might, but she had like 160 flights, but maybe she wasn't on all of them. I think a lot of celebrities own the private jet, but then they rent it out for other people to use.
Okay.
There's a whole thing.
Rory needs to consult her, because he did that thing where it was like he paid, like I don't know how this works, but he paid towards some organization that like covers the like the damage that it does to the environment or whatever.
Yeah, it somehow offsets.
Do you remember that?
Offsets his carbon footprint at some point.
Carbon offset is what producer Jacob just called it in the chat. I guess that's what it's not a world I'm super familiar with, obviously. I don't know how we're talking about Taylor Swift's private jet, but here we are.
Right. I can segue us back into this. PJs were a big topic of conversation for Taylor Swift, for Ricky Fowler, for the boys over at Live, and the trial date has been set. Phil Mickelson et al. Versus the PGA Tour. KP, January 8th, 2024, which by my count is 16 months from now. I'm no legal expert. I've just got my finger on the pulse of the golf landscape. A lot of things are going to be different 16 months from now.
Yeah, that'll be like chapter 2 of Normal Sport 4. Right. I think that's right. 1, 2, 3. Yeah. It also coincides coincidentally with the first like the going back to the PGA Tour calendar year, right? That's when they're jumping back into the PGA Tour calendar year. I think that's probably what most people expected. I think the interesting part for me, and you and I have talked about this a lot, and I feel like I've said it every podcast we've done, is what happens between now and then. Liv is clearly bent on, I mean, they're jumping to 14 events next year. They clearly want to be or they're going to be the number 2 tour in the world at the time of this trial, and they already are. I mean, they're already there. I think that's pretty. I don't know if it's indisputable, but I think it's true. And does it ever get to trial? The smart people that you read. I'm not smart when it comes to legal stuff, but the smart people that you read and listen to and talk to don't think something like this goes to like broadly speaking, don't think something like this goes to trial. And I keep going back to, then what does settlement look like? Because I think settlement in so many cases, and again, no idea what I'm talking about with legal stuff, but in so many cases, it just becomes like a monetary transaction. And you're like, man, that just seems untenable at this point. Oh, like some sort of monitor, like it almost is. And I was talking to some people at the Open Championship. It's almost as if the live people are like, oh, so you don't really want to have anything to do with us. Okay, we're going to destroy you. And there's no like settlement to be had for them, right? I think that's sort of the road that we're headed down, and it feels super contentious, and I don't. There's been so many twists and turns, and I just have no idea what comes next. I guess. Yeah, I think they just coexist.
Yeah, I don't think it ever goes to trial because discovery for both parties sounds like something they would avoid at all costs. But you're right. Like a settlement is kind of by nature a compromise, and we've talked before. Like how are they going to compromise, right? And is the PGA Tour going to pay out some financial? Like that doesn't make any sense. I don't know where we're headed, but I think it's going to be pretty nasty.
Well, I think the tour could have avoided. God, Matt Fitzpatrick's cross-handed chipping is so weird looking.
He the last 2 times I've seen him do that, he's hit some really brutal ones. I know he's very good at it, and he does it also all the time. The last 2, the sample size of 2 that I've seen have been horrid.
So I think the tour could have avoided some of this. And it's so easy to sit here and say, well, this is what so-and-so should. I was reading some stuff from January and February today, and even Phil Mickelson's quotes about not the crazy quotes about the Saudi stuff, but just like media rights. I was doing some old research or some research about older topics. I mean, older, it was like 5 months ago. It feels like it was 5 years ago, but it doesn't even seem like these guys want to play in the Saudi league, but they just got so far down this road and couldn't like put the toothpaste back in the tube. Wow. And here we are. But I think the tour could have avoided some of this by, and I think we talked about this idea on here. If not, I would love to introduce it, by just raising the minimum number of required events for players to, I don't know, 18. Now that kind of punishes your stars like JT and Rory, and Spieth plays a few more, but guys that don't play a ton.
Right. I mean, all those guys play 18 events.
Do they?
But
yeah, probably
being that, okay, if you really want to play both, right, or play anywhere in the world, that's fine. But as soon as you don't play 18 events here, you're no longer a member, which would then, if you're playing 18 here, 14 over there, you're talking about 32 events, which is like an ungodly amount of golf, especially for the guys that are getting paid like high-end stars. Yeah.
So Patrick Reed might do that. Phil's not doing that. You think DJ's playing 32 events? No. Brooks? No. Bryson? No. And so and maybe there's probably 10 reasons that I'm not thinking of that they couldn't do that, but that seemed like such a easy, already kind of built in solution. So for people that don't know, the PGA Tour's rule for players that play on different tours, so there's 23 tours, they get OWGR points. So if your home tour, and I don't know how they define home tour, I guess the one that you started on or like from your, I guess, home country or whatever, you can define it as a tour other than the PGA Tour. If your home tour is other than the PGA Tour, you have to play in 15 PGA Tour events to keep your card, your membership on the PGA Tour. And that's the reason they do that, is so that the PGA Tour, again, this is super complicated and I'm not going to explain it very well, but they have to have like this sort of guarantee that, hey, the guys that are on our tour are going to play in at least this number of events for a lot of media rights stuff, or just the value of their tour. And I think that makes a lot of sense. And so it's already like baked in there, Rick. And it just seemed like they could have raised it a little and eliminated so many of the issues here. It's like, yeah, like, okay, we're going to require 4 more events than Live does. It can be whatever you want. And if you really want to play 32 out of 52 weeks, I guess you can do it. But man, none of the stars are going to do that. And those are the only guys that matter anyway. And so I don't know. I kind of wonder why that wasn't one of the options here.
Yeah. And we'll put a pin in this, but I think it's interesting because, there's so much that already exists for the PGA Tour with the requirements to keep their membership, but it's constantly changing, and they come up with the qualification system and changing and tweaking a little rule that already exists. Go from 15 to 18, as opposed to introducing X, Y, and Z to keep people out, or to, you know what I mean? Like that's gonna be the stuff that they're gonna get caught up in legal challenges. But to say, oh no, we just adjusted our minimum play from 15 to 18. Like, no big deal. We do it all the time. This is, requirements of the membership, as always.
Yeah, it would have been, to me, again, we're probably oversimplifying this, but it would have been so much. It would have been like, are you going to sue an organization because they changed their membership rules by 3 tournaments? That just seems like, I mean, they might have still done it, but are you going to win that? I don't know, man. Like, because technically you're not, it's not again, I'm using terrible terminology, but you're not precluding them from playing. You're just making it really difficult to do so. And in the process, you're weakening Liv's product, right? Because if, let's say DJ, this would never happen, but let's say he does choose to play 32 events a year.
Right.
Is his performance at the Live events going to be good?
Or worst case scenario, you still get him for 18, which is like, okay, if people still really want to tune in to see what Dustin Johnson's doing, you still get him as the PGA Tour for 18 events, even if he's going to play 14 over there.
And I do wonder if they weren't able to define, based on their handbook, like if they wouldn't have been able to define Live as like the home tour of those guys, right? Because I don't know like how you define a home tour. And I think that a lot of that has to do with other countries. It was built around like European tour stuff and Asian tour and all that. And so for Americans, can you define their home tour as Live Golf? You would have to sort of write that. So I think there's other things you'd have to do that would sort of complicate your ability to say or to do what we're proposing. But man, it just seems like a lot easier thing than, getting the crap suit out of you by all these guys that are trying to play on both.
Indeed. We'll obviously have much more on that. We're getting redacted versions of Live contracts out now. So stuff is coming out, more and more conversation to come there, but we'll turn our attention. Sorry.
Real quick. Did you see the Wall Street Journal article?
I did, where they had a report because they saw a contract, and they also said some things like, I think if you win a major, you get $1 million bonus. They're being asked / required to recruit. They have to wear the logo. I think there was a couple other things like that, right?
Yeah, they have to wear. I don't know if it's like the Live logo, or their team logo. I think it was unclear like what. The Smash or the Crushers logo versus the Live logo, but something along those lines. They can't give interviews unless they get permission.
That's the other one. Yeah.
That's not great. I actually requested an interview from somebody who went to Live, and he is somebody that would have normally responded, but didn't. So that sort of lines up. And then they can't use paraphernalia at I guess Live events that's not approved by Live. So they mentioned like coffee mug fields, the fill rule, which is weird.
They also basically, there's also like a Whoop rule too. It was like fitness bands or something like that, I think, was also included.
Yeah. So anyway, one of the big things that I took away from that is that we might see Brooks and Bryson at the US Open next year in their team paraphernalia. I mean, that was sort of the way that there might be an out there or a caveat that I don't know about, but that was sort of how the contract read, at least according to the Wall Street Journal. And I actually read through Hudson Swafford and Taylor Gooch's contracts, and it's super confusing. And I tried to understand like the media rights stuff, because they're bundling their media rights also. Turns out to run a high level sports league, you have to bundle your media rights and you have to sign your media rights over to the league. Now, Phil had issues about stuff outside of that, archive stuff, and then like the match, which is very much outside of a league like the PGA Tour. And I actually empathize with those concerns, but like if you play in Live, your media rights are owned by Liv, which is the way all of this has to work.
Correct, which makes sense, and I'm sure more and more will come out there. Keegan Bradley leads in Wilmington, 7 under 64 in the opening round, 8 birdies offset by 1 bogey. KP on top of the leaderboard, which has been a familiar place for Keegan over the last couple of years. He's generally one to get out to a hot start. Finishing things off, not as easy for him, but he's often atop the leaderboard after 18 holes.
Yeah, great tweet by you. He's tied with Sebastian Munoz since 2019.
Yeah, 4th most first round leads, and the other guys are who you'd expect. Rory,
JT, Rory, and John Rahm. Yeah, exactly. Are at the top. Yeah. This is oh, my daughter's trying to come in. You got any takes? Hey, do you have any live golf takes? Do you have any golf takes at all that you want to get out there? No. You sure?
Now's the time.
Okay. Who's your favorite player?
Rory.
Yeah, there you go.
Nailed it.
I've brainwashed them. You're on camera right now. Probably like 30 minutes. Okay. This is great. Yeah. No, you can't come in. No, the 2-year-old's out here now.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Hey,
draw the line.
This is great. Great podcasting. I love that stat from you. And I think that, Keegan talked about a couple things afterwards. He talked about how valuable, I think it was Patrick Cantlay that talked before the tournament started about how this was like very much a driver's paradise. That's a dumb way of saying it from me. That's not what he said. But Keegan talked about how important that was to him. Like he's a great driver. He obviously hits his irons as well as pretty much anybody on tour. And when you gain 4 strokes putting, you're going to lead a golf tournament if you're Keegan Bradley. So I'm really intrigued by a couple of things. I don't think he's won since 2018 BMW. Is that right? 5 years ago?
That's got to be right.
I think that's right. And here's a really interesting stat, Rick, that I didn't realize. He's only been to 1 tour championship since the start of 2014. And it was in 2018 when he won the BMW Championship. So he's came into this week ranked 44th. That's sort of a ceiling for him, or has been over the last 8 years. But if he finishes, I didn't do the math on it, but top 8, top 7, whatever, he's probably going to make it to East Lake, which is for somebody like Keegan a pretty big deal. So there's a lot at stake for him over the next 3 days.
Yeah, his finishing positions are like 39th, 99th, 66th. He's finished 47th. He's finished 33rd, 60th. I mean, he's lived kind of just outside that tour championship bubble. So he's got himself in position here as of right now. He'd move up to number 3 if the leaderboard finishes exactly as it is right now. That's unlikely to happen. The chase pack, Kyle, includes some notables here. Adam Scott 1 shot off the lead. There's a trio of golfers at 5 under, Harold Varner III, Shane Lowry, Justin Thomas. And then you can get some bigger names at 4 under, like Colin Morikawa, Xander Schauffele, Cam Young got in there, and Terrell Hatton as well. So it's setting up to be a pretty good race, the final 54 here.
Yeah, it is. It's a really good board. You would expect that, obviously, when there's only 70 guys in the field, and most of them are a lot of them are big names. We saw this last year at the BMW when it was at Caves Valley. Again, sort of a driving contest, and you get, that's sort of that's the modern skill, and that's what a lot of these guys have built their games on. And so obviously you're going to get those guys mostly at the top of the leaderboard, and you see that with Rory at 3 under, JT at 5, Spieth is up there at 3 under, Scheffler's at 3 under. I think we're going to get like a really major looking leaderboard this weekend based on the field, the course setup, and kind of what's at stake over the next 7 rounds.
I want to talk about Rory, but I'm just going to lump him into the next segment here when we talk about the odds and kind of circle it in that way. So we're going to look at the live odds, but first we're going to take a quick break and hear a word from our partners. And we're back. Justin Thomas is the favorite right now. Rory McIlroy, KP, second shortest odds to win the BMW Championship. That is despite him making a late triple. He was kind of rolling along there, gets to that par 3, I think it's 15, finds the water, makes a big number, but was able to kind of climb back into this thing and not punt it all away.
Yeah, I was watching. I had it on in the afternoon, so I was kind of keeping tabs on what him and Scheffler and Zalatoris were doing. I mean, he drove it great. I think he finished 5th in the field. At one point, Golf Channel put a graphic on there that showed, I mean, he was hitting 380-yard drives routinely, just pumping it. And, you know, he hits one bad shot on, what was it, 15?
Yes. Finds the water.
And then all of a sudden he goes from could be leading the golf tournament at the end of the day to he's 4 back. But it doesn't really do much for me in terms of, like, I think Rory is either, I don't know if he's going to win. I think he's going to finish in like the top 4. Because, again, because the golf course set up, because of how he's hitting it off the tee, he's having a really good putting year, which we haven't really talked about very much. But this is sort of his, you know, he thrives at places like this, setups like this. He just lights them up. And I think he's what was his number again?
9-1.
Man.
Which, like, I'll tell you what, if he doesn't make triple and he just makes par, he's like 250. He's like 2.5.
Yeah. Yeah. I know, that's crazy. And I think you're like, oh, well, it's Thursday. He can make that up. But the margins are just always so thin that it could come down to him losing by 1 or 2 on Sunday. And you're like, well, shouldn't have made triple on Thursday. Very normal sport thing, by the way, where he loses 3 strokes on 1 hole on Thursday. He drops from 3 to 9 in the FedEx Cup, which means he also loses 3 strokes next week at the Tour Championship. Nice. in the starting strokes. Just completely preposterous. Like, I can't believe that we're doing that, but that's what we're doing. It's a reality. So I thought that was pretty funny.
We'll get out of here on a lighthearted note, except if you are Luke List or a Luke List backer. History made out there today. Luke List lost 8.5 strokes putting, the 4th worst putting round since we started measuring putting rounds, Kyle. That's pretty impressive.
It was incredible. I actually hadn't seen the Rory shot into 15. That was horrible. It was like the middle of the pond. By
a mile. Yeah.
Yeah. What did he lose? 8? What?
The final, it was 8.5. I mean, it might be like 8.58, but it's still adjusting with like 2 guys out on the golf course.
So Data Golf has it at 9.05 right now.
Oh, wow. Okay. So then it moved a lot since I last looked.
The next worst is Siwoo at 5.14, and then you got Mito at 3.4. So he was 3 times. Luke List was 3 times worse than the 3rd worst guy.
It's 3. Okay, he is a notorious horrible putter, and this is 3 shots worse than anything he's ever done, which is like crazy.
What did he? I mean, that's astounding. He shot 78. Is he last? I think he's last.
Yeah. He's tied with Siwoo.
Yeah. Man, he gained. He was positive tee to green and shot 78.
That's hard to do. My favorite nugget about that, or about this like whole thing, is that one of the second worst round ever was that Keith Mitchell round at Valspar last year, which he did not realize his putter was bent. Which is like, that's usually what it takes to lose like 9 strokes putting, not just missing everything.
Yeah, you would expect, like, remember the year that who was it? Robert Streb or Brian Harmon at Greenbrier?
Streb had a wedge.
Siwoo at Augusta, which we probably don't have numbers on that, but it was probably better than this.
Yeah.
I mean, you're losing a half stroke a hole. I don't understand that.
I mean, go through the shot. I mean, he literally just missed everything.
So he lost. I mean, he didn't. He lost a stroke on the first hole. He had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He had 5 holes where he lost a stroke or more putting. How is that possible?
How many 3-jacks did he have?
I don't know.
I'll lot it up real quick. He 3-jacked the first, 3-jacked the second. I mean,
that's tough. That's tough to look at.
Yeah, it's bad.
Especially when you hit the ball A like he does and B like he did on Thursday. He hit it good. I mean, he should have shot 68, right?
Yeah, he'll shoot a 65 tomorrow when he gains 3 strokes with the putter. Yeah.
Man, that's crazy.
All right. I'll be out there, so I will. I'll run back so we can record round by round recaps. But yeah, should be fun. Who should I follow? Should I just follow?
Well, that's what I was getting ready to ask you. Who are you thinking about following?
So I like to see I don't usually follow a lot. I like to see everybody. So what I'll do is I told Armin, I was like, listen, we're gonna walk the course backwards, and she's like, okay. I'm not great walking backwards. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like.
Yeah, confused. She's confused.
Yeah, we were going to be looking over our shoulder.
That would be sick if you just let her literally walk backwards and didn't tell her. That would be pretty savage.
I was like, no, we're going to start at 9, then go 8, 7, 6.
You know who I think sort of meets this crossroads of there won't be a ton of players around, or there won't be a ton of fans around him, but also he'd be really great to watch in a setting like this.
Who is it?
Cam Young.
Oh, okay.
I think I would try to go catch him for 4, 5, 6 holes, something like that.
I've not probably seen a whole lot of him up close, and that would be cool. Yeah, he's gifted in a way that when you hear it and see it off the club face, that's rare.
Totally. And I got a little of him at PGA, a little at St. Andrews. Was hard because you're like, well, at some point Rory's just the story here, and I have to do that. But I did get some at PGA, and he can go. He's really, really good. I think that'd be a good one. Yeah, that is a good one. All right. Big thanks, Producer Jacob. Does all the hard work behind the scenes. Kyle Porter available on Twitter at Kyle Porter CBS. You can find me at Rick Run Good. This has been The First Cut. We'll catch you next time.